Salute, salute. Welcome to the post-game show. CT, the streets are buzzing. The New York Knicks Summer League team ain't buzzing at the moment. But salute to the chat. How we feeling after this? The Knicks go down in their second game against the Brooklyn Nets, 80-98. There were some better things that we saw than last night, but overall, much of the same in terms of the senior players on this team. Trevor Keels struggled, but Charlie Brown and also Jalen Martin, Isaiah Roby had a solid first half. Let's chop it up. We'll chop up the NBA Cup and the Knicks draw again. Talk about the latest going on around the league and tonight's performance. Salute, salute, salute. How's everyone feeling? Shout out to the chat. But yeah, the Brooklyn Nets had their way with the New York Knicks tonight, but it was a much better first half. The Knicks were out of the gates pretty strong. I would say Isaiah Roby had a pretty good first quarter. Jalen Martin was solid all night, probably the Knicks' second best player. And Brown also, again, as you see on screen, had some really nice finishes in transition. His length, his size looks pretty intriguing. We'll get everyone's thoughts on him. But Trevor Keels, poor night again, was the worst in the plus minus for the New York Knicks. Yeah, it's looking very disappointing for Trevor Keels so far. 19 years of age, was a draft pick, second round 2 years ago, but he doesn't look ready at all. He looks like he's needing much, much more development, and then he might be, in and out of the league if he's lucky at this stage from what I'm seeing. But to quick recap, the Knicks struggle with no shot creation again. Trevor Keels, not a creator, not a point guard. Jalen Martin, still young. Jalen Harris can't create either. Not quick off the dribble. So yeah, the Knicks struggled again with no point guard, no shot creation. Shot the ball better in the first half. We at one point was shooting 35% from deep, but then that came down later in the game. And yeah, again, the poor shooting for the New York Knicks. There was some solid second half D, but the ball moved. One thing I've noticed from this team is no one's really isolating. It's clear that they just want the ball to move. And I think at the detriment of the offense at times, I noticed, guys sort of waving off screens only to pull the ball back out again and all of those things, which is not what you want. By setting the pick, you need to be aggressive. So that's, I think, where the Knicks Summer League team's been struggling. But obviously there's a huge talent gap, as we all know. The Brooklyn Nets had Kennedy Chandler, who was a draft pick also 2 years ago. He's chippy, he gets into it, he's quick, he's great defensively. He was an experienced guy who looked strong tonight. Amani Brooks for the Brooklyn Nets, 25 years of age, got 21 points. He lit it up as well. So the Brooklyn Nets were quick tonight with the pace. They were swarming the Knicks with the help defense. Their shooting was strong, and they were attacking all night long. So yeah, the Knicks, there's just a huge talent gap at the moment. I don't blame anyone for not caring or not wanting to watch, any more of this performance in Summer League. There's 2 to 3 more games remaining. I guess I'm looking at Isaiah Roby. I'm looking at Jalen Martin still. Daquan Jeffries was not able to play because he has a minor injury. He's day to day. So, I mean, let's see. I'm still going to continue to watch, of course, but Daquan Jeffries, I hope he can maybe get back and have some more action. Race Thompson, the wing from Indiana, apparently did not make the trip because of a last-minute injury. So for those wondering what's up with him, we're not going to see him either. Michael Foster had his moments. I thought he's solid in the post if they can get the ball to him quick enough, but often they were just a little bit too slow. No point guard play and no recognition when the man had the post up position. So yeah, this was the biggest blowout, 80-98. The first half was competitive, but we'll look further into the bright spots. We'll shout some people out firstly before we get into the stats and the box score. Salute Hulu, Geraldine, AP, David, salute. Um, Dirty Dancer, appreciate you. Kills needs to lose some weight, definitely. Um, we mentioned that last night. I think. I mean, I don't really know what his strength was coming in. When we drafted him, all I heard was that he was able to kind of slash and penetrate. But I've seen far from that. I've seen a guy who definitely looks heavy, can't get separation. But we also need to preface that, summer league ball is a level above college, above college as we know, G League kind of level. It's the pros. Like I said, you're going up against Kennedy Chandlers, you're going up against dudes that have been around, some of them maybe been overseas for a hot minute as well. Um, yeah, some highlights there from Isaiah Roby, again, who shot the ball pretty solid in the first quarter, first half. We'll go through the stats. But yeah, I'm still looking at Isaiah Roby and Jalen Martin as the dudes who could factor in terms of making the back end of this roster. Um, and we'll talk about obviously the NBA tournament. I want to get some people's more thoughts as we have more time to digest what's actually happening and how the format works. All of those good things. We'll listen to people's reactions to that. Um, there was some positives. I'll start with the positives, I guess. Jalen Martin was was sort of second game high in assists, 6 assists as well. So I like Martin. I just don't think, he's young. He's not quite ready to take on ball handling creation duties. But you could clearly see he's athletic. You could clearly see Jalen Martin, has a shot. Looks pretty inconsistent at this point, but he swished a couple from deep. A nice step back he had in the mid range. So he's a player to me that so far looks like he's worth keeping around on the two-way, worth developing. A lot of scouts had him around the top 70 roughly, top 80 range in the last year's draft, in the last past draft. So, he just missed out on getting his name called on draft night. But 18 years of age, 6'6", there's something there. There's something there worth, developing. Of course, there's 3 more summer league games, so let's see. Um, and Charlie Brown Jr., 16 points, game second high or leading high for the New York Knicks. Charlie Brown Jr. put up 16 points. He looks smooth. If there's a guy I want to keep on the two-way as well, it's Charlie Brown now. It's not Trevor Keels. So far, he's kind of even or supplanted my excitement about Isaiah Roby as well. Talk about a guy who's looked, smooth in his moments in both games now. I don't know what he looks like, 6'8". He looks quick. He's got the nice Euro step. Yeah, I heard the announcers also say that Charlie Brown was in the G League championship team. So he's got some experience worth, exploring. So yeah, the 16 points from Brown, the 6 assists from Jalen Martin was solid. I thought Marcus Garrett has had some moments also. Um, and Michael Foster, he's not an NBA guy. So is that Skapantsev, dude. They got big bodies. They look okay when they're in the low block, but they don't look quick enough. They don't look athletic enough to be an NBA player. Uh, yeah, rebounding. The Knicks lost the rebounding. I think Brooklyn hustled more tonight. The 12 steals, again, was reflective of what I said earlier with the help defense, which was my quick recap point. Yeah, again, like last night, the kind of this team's predictable to defend. We're very slow moving the ball, and then it gives the help defender enough time to get in and get those steals. 12 steals for Brooklyn, 6 blocks apiece. The turnovers came back to roost once again. We had 19 last night, 18 tonight to Brooklyn's 13. So that's what you're going to get with no point guard play, fam. A wretched field goal percentage as well, 37% field goal percentage. Um, and then a wretched 27% from three. And a shout out to Brooklyn for hitting 36% from three for their summer league team. Free throw percentage pretty wretched as well. Couldn't even hit 70% for free throw percentage. We heard from Obi Toppin. Yep, 100%. We'll talk about that. Yeah, Martin's interesting, man. He was firing up threes. I think he's going to grow in confidence as he gets more games under his belt as well, like JC says as well. I hope that we're patient with him. He looks raw. Agree with Anthony's comment. But you got to realize too, yeah, it's only his second summer league game, stepping up from OTE, kind of like AAU Division Two high school ball, up to like the pros. So that speaks of why there's something there with Jalen Martin. You know, again, we've got guys who's played NBA games 4 seasons, and they don't look as good as Jalen Martin, who's only 19. So if you are going to invest in somebody who, you know, is a project still, invest in a dude who's got these intangibles as well. Um, yeah, 2 years in the G League, possibly. Let's see. I'll be okay with him getting a two-way spot. Heck, if he impresses more, he might get the 14th roster spot. I do think Daquan Jeffries is most def a guy who looks like he deserves it so far. Dirty says the front office just doesn't care. If they did, they would at least put out a point guard to have some reasonable, steady play. Yeah, you're kind of setting these guys up to fail in that regard. I agree because no creation, it just stagnates the entire offense as well. And you're leaving a 19-year-old shooting guard to create, and a 6'4", Trevor Keels to create as well. Yeah, so that's what we're seeing, man. That's what we're gonna get. Um, Obviously, our best strength for me, probably consistently for both games, was getting some steals, getting out in transition. I think 5 steals is fairly solid. Um, but yeah, Charlie Brown looks like the guy who finishes the best. Everyone else seems to get blocked, swatted, smashed at the rim, knocked down, all of that stuff. It's just a lot of, clumsy play from what we've seen so far. Side to side movement as well. What's good, chat? Appreciate you rocking out. The best fan base in the world, no doubt. Not we're breaking down a second summer league game in which we got blown out by 18, but we had no draft pick in the last 2 years. We've traded Obi Toppin. You know, it's reasonable to cast an eye on to see what the Knicks are doing in terms of these 3 two-way roster spots right now, because you got to fill them. You know, they want the announcers said they want someone to showcase themselves in the Westchester Knicks. That might get some bums on seats in terms of Jalen Martin, showcasing in the G League this season. Isaiah Roby might even end up on a two-way spot if we want to sign a couple veterans, because none of these guys look like they're going to factor in to any kind of end of the bench NBA minutes, except for D Jeffries and Isaiah Roby. I would say Isaiah started better tonight. Apparently, he's been rehabbing from an injury. So once I hear that, I'm like, okay, I have seen flashes from Isaiah Roby in the NBA. If he is rehabbing from an injury, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He does look like he has, the best skill sets from this team in terms of shooting and a 6'8" size dribble, attacking the closeout. But yeah, the Brooklyn Nets didn't exactly have a great team either. Amarani Brooks with Jalen Wilson and of course Kennedy Chandler. Nothing to write home about, in that regard. Uh, I'll pull up the charts as well, take a quick look at that, and just see where the Knicks got their looks from and all of that. But we'll quickly go through the wire to wire. Like I said, the Knicks started out well, 28 points to 23. and then faded away after the second, a wretched third quarter and a wretched fourth quarter. 31 points combined in the second half compared to like 51 to the Brooklyn Nets. So we actually finished the game strong last night. Tonight we faded away. We obviously missed Daquan Jeffries too. So I mean, Daquan's good for his 20 odd points. So that could have been a closer ball game. But fast break points, that was the biggest letdown from last night. Last night we won fast break points. Tonight, 2 fast break points to the Brooklyn Nets 28 is ridiculous. No transition, nothing, no creation. And like I said, the 18 turnovers, fam, and even got beaten in points in the paint, which is crazy. Usually we win points in the paint. The chart on screen, what stands out to me with this is nothing in the mid range. And as a hoops purist, I know where the game's going. I want to hear your thoughts on what we see. Everything trying to go to the cup in traffic. Yesterday, today, they were trying to go up against the trees and finish. Nobody's got a pull-up game, right? It's either shoot a deep three that's contested or wide open and brick it, or it's try to go amongst the trees and try to finish over 3 dudes. Let's be realistic. Ain't nobody Antonio McDyess, Vince Carter on this team. Everyone trying to go up and finish on the trees. But no one wants to pull up for a mid-range. Look at the space between the restricted area and the 3-point line. That's the easiest shot in the NBA to get off is the mid-range, right? Run around the screen, get up to about 15 feet, and then pull up for a decent look. It's simple fundamentals. But that's something that stands out to me with this thing, right? You're not going to shoot all your threes if you're not a good shooting team, and you're not going to finish over the trees either. So give us some more mid-range. Yeah, Roby looked better today. AP asks, my question is Roby going to be a legit replacement for Roby? No, it's not looking that way, man. But like I said earlier, I'll give him the benefit if he's rehabbing from an injury. I think I would be, if I was a betting man, I would still bet on him, retaining a 14th spot or a two-way spot. There's enough talent there to keep for a season and just see. But right at this point, I don't think Tom Thibodeau would be impressed, man. What he's seen, and I would expect the Knicks to look at these veterans potentially that are available. Of course, Isaiah Roby's game isn't exactly what Tibbs likes either. He's not a bruising big. He's not a great rebounder. He's not a good defender either with that. As Dirty echoes that in terms of Roby being in an emergency situation, better rebounder and defender than Obi, but won't replace the points. Yep. JV followed him in fantasy. Yep. I've done a lot of research and I've spoke to San Antonio fans. I've spoken to OKC fans. They all, majority do say there's enough there to be an NBA player. So again, summer league is kind of pro ball still. If you're coming off an injury, you're rehabbing, and he was fairly solid today in the first half. I'll say there's enough there to see. Let's see what how he looks in the rest of the summer league. Also, but yeah, he's different. I guess he might have a more consistent 3-point shot than Obi. I will say that Obi's 3-point shooting is kind of hit and miss. I think Isaiah Roby in the NBA, there was a season he shot 44%, but then he did come back down and shoot 30%. So yeah, to me, there's something there. There's something worth exploring. But is he going to be a dude who you can rely on to get those 15 backup minutes with the same production Obi gave us? The questions, the jury's still out. But yeah, he did look much better today. Uh, yeah, so we had the deep range from Roby. You see here, like I said earlier, he could stretch the floor. He doesn't need any hesitation, no any separation. He'll pull up. That was a nice 4-point play there. Uh, this one was a 3 from Jalen Harris. Again, the Knicks shot. They were shooting 35% at 1 point. I actually think that's Martin. Uh, Also, even Keels hit a 3 early on. This one was wide open though too. That was one of Keels' bright moments. Um, but let's get the box score up so we can look at this. Uh, yeah, Trevor Keels, you'll see in the plus minus, man, minus 29. That was glaring. And Isaiah Roby a minus 24, and a Foster minus 23. So yeah, dudes who haven't impressed at all. Uh, Foster wasn't someone I knew a lot about coming into this thing, so some people were keen to see what he could bring, but he's not an NBA guy from what I've seen. Uh, Roby defensively has struggled. I noticed these guys are pretty slow laterally. Trevor Keels especially. Jalen Martin's impressed me the most defensively, along with Marcus Garrett and Charlie Brown. Those have been the three best defensive guys. Um, but Isaiah Roby's not quick laterally, which could be some concerns also from the eyes of Tom Tibbs. Um, but yeah, as we said, Charlie Brown Jr. So another takeaway is I would lean towards investing in him in one of the two-way spots. We know Jacob Toppin is not on a two-way spot yet. He's going to be in training camp on a Exhibit 10. But Toppin, it's unfortunate we don't get to see what he could do on this team. It would be a breath of fresh air, some athleticism, some Toppin genes invested in this thing. But we don't get to see that. But I would still assume they look after their own and they give Jacob a two-way. But then obviously Daquan Jeffries would most likely keep a roster spot. So I think Jalen Martin and Charlie Brown are the leaders for me for the other two-way spots. 44% from two. Roby shot 55% from two. No, 55% overall. 50% from three. So yeah, Isaiah Roby was efficient. Just didn't play a lot of minutes. Didn't get a lot of touches late. But 12 points. But like I said, minus 24. Jalen Martin's stats, very inefficient, but he was the one that had to carry the offense. He had to shoot, he had to create, he had to drive into traffic. But it was pleasing to see Jalen Martin shoot 50. He shot 50% from the field, from the free throw line, got to the cup a little bit, but 3 of 11 from deep. Funny enough, Trevor Keels shot 2 of 5, 40% from deep, but only 8 points, 19 minutes. See, that's telling. The fact that they're not giving Trevor Keels more minutes to make mistakes, you know, play everything he can play, lets me know that they're a little bit worried about what he's displaying. Unless he picked up an injury, I might be wrong. We might find out something else, but Keels should be playing more for me than 19 minutes. I like what Marcus Garrett has brought on defensively. As you see in a blowout, he was only a -2. Yesterday, he was a pretty good in the box score as well. So he's pretty solid defensively on the perimeter. You could see it. He gets after it. He stole the lunch of Kennedy Chandler, which was great on the drive. He picked his pocket, snatched it. It was like out of midair. So I appreciate his hustle. Jalen Harris has been very unimpressive as well. Nothing worth exploring on a two-way at this point. But Charlie Brown is intriguing being on the G League championship team. We need a bit of extra size and length. Could he be a more fundamentally sound Ferron Hunt version of that? Shot 77% from the line. I really like that. For a team that stunk from the line, he shot 7 of 9 and a 1 of 4 from deep. Charlie Brown. We're just not a good shooting team at this stage, fam. Uh, but yeah, I want to see more of Daquan Jeffries, hopefully. Uh, I would guess that, Daquan gets that spot, as I'll bring up the roster here on screen. Uh, yeah, if we look at it, I think the Knicks are cool keeping it at 14. Daquan Jeffries is probably going to retain his roster spot unless we want to favor another veteran. But Isaiah Roby could be that dude that makes way for that. But there's still 3 more games. I want to get Roby more featured, and let's see what he could do. Tonight he looked much better than he did last night. If he looks better in the 3rd game and so forth, then at least I think the noise can sort of quiet down a little bit. There was a combination of people overhyping Roby and a combination of people, trashing on Roby. I think it's somewhere in between, as always. I think there's a lot of overreactions to Summer League. But one thing that I don't think is an overreaction is Trevor Keels. Uh, the fact that, we used a 40-something pick on that man, and he doesn't look worthy of a roster spot, definitely. If you want to keep him on the 2-way spot, okay, I could understand from an organizational standpoint because they used the draft pick, but the play hasn't looked like that so far at all. He's dealing with, I'm looking like some weight issues. Maybe he's dealing with some other leg issues, but the burst, the speed, the supposed quickness is just not there. He's not a good ball handler, but he's goes to his right all the time. But usually with his size, his strength, he could usually get some sort of separation. But he's struggling with that at this point. And at this level, Trevor Keels came out as a freshman, was drafted a little bit too early, it looks like. But summer league is kind of like a pro level above college, so he was not exactly a standout in college. So I'm not surprised that Trevor Keels is yet to, to find any kind of comfort in this pro comp. He's also just not a point guard, so I could also understand that they're not putting him in the best situations as well. That's echoing Dirty's thoughts before about the organization not giving two Fs about summer league at this point. Yeah, Wayne, I agree. Roby played better. If we look at the box score, he shot well, efficiently. But yeah, the defense of Philly and the defense of Brooklyn has also been something that stood out to me. Remember, these guys are fighting for their NBA lives. These guys, are getting after it. They're getting down, getting some floor burn, and all of those things. So the hustle is there. The NBA game is a bit different, obviously, where everyone respects your shot more. They sag off a little bit. They don't just pick you up for 40 minutes like they have been. But in terms of Charlie Brown has been the biggest pleasant surprise for me. Getting up and down, um, and his shooting from deep. His shooting from deep's been solid as well. I'll pull up that finish he had on the break, which was solid. Just another bucket in transition that he got. You could just see his size there. Yeah, keeps the ball up high. That's a lesson to a lot of ballers. A lot of Knicks players were getting stripped, keeping the ball down low. We know Mitchell Robinson, one of those guys. Look at how Charlie Brown keeps the ball up above his shoulders when he's finishing. There's no way the defender is going to from where he's coming from, there's no way he's going to get up that high as well. A lot of players like RJ Barrett especially keep the ball down their hips where it's very easy to strip. You could just come in and knock your hands as well, or easily foul without letting you get the bucket, the and one as well. So Charlie Brown, his experience shows, I think, in terms of his poise. He's he's smooth, I would say. He's smooth, but I don't know, what is he, 25? A lot of time in the G League. So, you got to expect that, I guess, coming in. Kind of which guys look more poised. Javier's in the house, salute. I watched Keels in the G, and he just doesn't have the ball skills to be an NBA guard. Yep. Appreciate your insight on that. I haven't really watched much G League, but I've been peeping the stats, and definitely nothing stood out with Keels. Um, I mentioned his ability to attack and slash, which was supposedly his strength. But one thing you need is solid, tight handles. Yeah, we're seeing, can RJ Barrett take his game to the next level? One of my biggest things that I want him to improve on is keeping that handles tighter. We saw him get stripped in Game 6 in Miami when he was feeling more confident. The handles can get a little bit sloppy. Trevor Keels has no tight handles at all. I don't think he does even have a crossover as well. He keeps it to his right, and he's going right, and it's predictable. Uh, Sherwin weighs in. Isaiah Roby will be just fine as a backup to Randall. 10 minutes, 12 minutes. We know Randall's going to play a lot, so I could see, based off of tonight, and if Roby is rehabbing from an injury, then I look forward to seeing more of him to see. But yeah, the shooting's solid, I guess. If he could stretch the floor a little as a backup four, we could do worse. Taj Gibson, if he does come in, isn't exactly a floor spacer either. Um, One person I want to mention is Jericho Sims too, which AP hits on. Little bit obviously big to be the backup four, but he can play those minutes. He's okay defensively, guarding the perimeter, staying in front of guards. Also a solid, with his hops, he could block some shots. We could do worse than Jericho playing backup four as well. Remember, he's the 11th, 12th guy as well. So there's guys that can play four. So, everyone really wants us to improve the team. I get it. Everyone wants us to get a backup four who's proven. But I think in the eyes of the front office, they're okay with where we're at. Tom Thibodeau plays 9-man, 10-man sometimes, if that. And I just don't think they want to deal with more people in the locker room, more signings, more crowded rotation, all of those things. I think you can keep guys motivated. You could keep the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th man motivated more if they're more of an opportunity for them to play, if they know there's an opportunity for them to play. If you stack the 13th, 14th, and 15th spots with veterans, then you're missing out on those two-way spots and using them for development as well. But of course, they do provide good practice play. That's something to worth consider as well. Uh, you need good experienced bodies for practice as well, keeping guys honest. Yeah, like I mentioned, before, Dirty agrees with the front office looking, into resources and, to see who's out there. But we're early in the off season as well, so I wouldn't rule out a Fournier trade. Filling a couple of spots still. Let's see. But like I said, so far, Daquan Jeffries looks legit worthy of an NBA back end of an NBA roster. Isaiah Roby, you could say at least a two-way. Jalen Martin, Jacob Toppin, those are your guys. But Charlie Brown is definitely worth exploring as well. We have our backup guards with Quickly. We have DiVincenzo. We have Deuce McBride. We've got Rokas overseas. We don't need to invest in anybody 6'4" and below who could create, right? That's why Trevor Keels, that even if he was to ball out, let's consider that. I don't think there's a spot for Trevor Keels to even come in because the backcourt's crowded as heck right now. It really is crowded, especially a guy who doesn't really offer anything different, and worse than what we currently have. Remember, there's Dwayne Washington also, who's 6'3", who's still around on a current two-way. He'll be in training camp. They might waive him. So yeah, invest in a guy who's different. Charlie Brown Jr., 6'7" or above, has the ability to finish in traffic, yeah, etc. Um, we have a little bit of a break. We've got two more summer league games and then a fifth one, I think, based on pool play. So we'll see. But if there is two or three more games, let's give more shots to Jalen Martin, Charlie Brown, Isaiah Roby. Let's see if Jeffries can get back in and just steady the floor a little bit. Yeah, we could always go get Taj Gibson tomorrow. We could get Bismack Biyombo, Dwayne Dedman. There's heaps of big dudes out there. Gorgie Jang. Heaps of experienced backup bigs. You could even get one mid-season, which is why I think the Knicks will come into the season with 14 main roster spots, not 15, because of the salary situation as well. I think they're okay with that. And they want to reward guys, like I said, like Jericho Sims, who they think has put in the work, who they think, if injuries happen, he's a guy who deserves, because he's been in the system for 2-3 years. Tom Thibodeau likes him. So, unlike previous regimes, when we went out and replaced Kevin Knox his second year with a Mook Morris, maybe they do acknowledge Jericho Sims as solid, and they would like to see him get emergency or backup minutes if there's, a need as well. That's another thing why I would prefer to not bring in a Taj Gibson at this stage. And if two guys go down mid-season, the advantage of keeping the roster spot open is that you can, make that swing at that point. Another name Ricardo mentions, JaMychal Green, it looks like he's still available, I think. He would be solid as well. He could shoot. I would be on board with JaMychal. Blake Griffin, Gorgie Jang, yep. Dwayne Dedman, someone who can block some shots and rebound. I mean, it's not like they're going to be playing more than 15 minutes. Any insights into our Fournier situation? Not that I've heard, but I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm thinking now, San Antonio made that move for Reggie Bullock. They got involved in the Grant Williams deal. Now they've got $10 million in salary on their books. So I don't know what Reggie Bullock's salary is like, but I damn sure hell know that Tom Thibodeau would prefer Reggie Bullock ahead of Evan Fournier. So I don't know if Reggie Bullock could be traded again, but if the Knicks could get $10 million of Reggie Bullock and send the San Antonio Spurs $17-18 million of Evan Fournier, and also open up more cap space for another guy, that could be something that the Spurs would be open to. Of course, Fournier, being French, would be a good mentor for Wemby, who I think's playing tonight. I will peep that in a minute. But yeah, Wemby looked pretty raw in his first game. I'm not with the other people who are overreacting to that as well. We remember how dudes like RJ Barrett, etc., looked in their first summer league game as well. There's a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement in there. But long term, for Fournier's salary is a guy who's needed. TV, what's good. Fournier's salary, he's going to be the first one out the door. Best believe that. If when the Knicks make their next trade, because we're right at the tax apron. He's expiring. He makes 17 milli. The Knicks could literally do so many different things. We could be on this pod for 3 hours going through the machinations of what the Knicks could do with Evan Fournier. And I want to give you one example. The Oklahoma City Thunder just traded Patty Mills' $6 million expiring salary yesterday for a boatload of assets. Literally, Ty Washington, a first round draft pick, point guard, Usman Garuba, and a second round pick. So if a guy like Patty Mills, who does have some shooting skills, but at the back end of his career, as a $6 million expiring contract, can get you some assets, that's one thing the Knicks could do with Evan Fournier. But maybe players that they would factor into their situations more than a young player like Ty, etc. But a Fournier for another veteran, like I said, if it's Reggie Bullock or someone else. But the thing is, we're not in a rush as well. We could hold on to Fournier until that player is available to make that swing as well. The issue is it's likely going to be teams are going to look at Fournier as a salary dump. They're not going to really look at it like we want Evan Fournier at this point in time, right? I don't have anything against Evan Fournier. He's just a pro. I wish he'd actually, been given more of a chance to shoot, to contribute. But defensively, we know he ain't it. But I feel like he's been a pro. He wants a new situation. He's going to get traded at some point in the next 6 months, I feel. The Knicks are still having those discussions with everyone around the league about NBA level veteran, high-end veteran starters to help this team. But I think, Evan Fournier's salary is going to be needed for that. Remember, these dudes making huge salaries. Karl Anthony Towns is making 40, 50 mil as well. If he is a dude we want to trade for, we need Evan Fournier's salary. Otherwise, you're going to have to send out every young player. RJ Barrett's $25 million salary, pair it up with Evan Fournier, is the likely move. The likely move. Just because we don't have any other salary to pair up with that to make a bigger salary. Of course, there is Emmanuel Quickly. I think we are mainly going to extend him for maybe 20 to 23 mil per. And then that could then be a salary used to trade, or we just keep him for a minute and see. I'm of the mindset if we are going to not trade Quickly, we better be sure that we're going to keep him a bit longer, because I think there's an issue where there's a time when you need to sell high. Emmanuel Quickly, if we keep it real, his intrigue around the league, his stock, it might be as high as it's going to get. That's my worry. I think there's a situation where Quickly could come in and be solid, but his stock may not go any higher. It just is what it is. He's a 18 to 23 million dollar player who could play up to that level. But once you start earning solid money, teams evaluate you differently as well. No, I never suggested the Knicks should trade for Karl Anthony Towns. I'm saying his salary is an example. I can't think of the 50 other guys making 50 million in the league, 40 million in the league. So I used his name as an example. What's good, KP? Roby over Obi. I would love that if that happens, if Roby's play can continue to get better. But I did like what I saw some things from Obi as well with the energy. The thing is, we just got to keep these guys hungry, keep them on two-way contracts, unguaranteed deals. That way they're easy to waive, they're easy to flip, good, attractive for the other team that wants to shed salary. Again, none of these guys should be demanding guaranteed salary. If their agent's trying to guarantee their salary, then that's the wrong move. Because these guys need to show more consistency, I think. But yeah, we didn't clearly invest in this summer league team. We didn't even add in a couple of sharpshooters who could just open the floor up. The chat's been on point all night about not, investing in any shot creation, no point guard, nothing. You mean to tell me we couldn't, scour the undrafted free agent market more and brought in some point guard play? Um, I think clearly we wanted Trevor Keels to get an opportunity to do what he's doing, but he's not taking advantage of that at all. So yeah, we look forward to seeing more Jalen Martin, Roby, Charlie Brown. I'm always about to say Bruce Brown. Now I want to bring up this NBA in-season tourney. Let's shift conversation to that, and we'll continue to chop up free agency and all of that. I appreciate the chat buzzing out. Salute, salute, salute. With that situation, yeah, we got that up on screen now. If you guys can see the key date, so it looks like straight out the gate, the November start to the season is going to be hot. All the pool games for this in-season NBA Cup takes place November 3 to November 28. The tournament nights are going to be a Tuesday and a Friday. So Tuesday and a Friday. And then the best team from each conference's 3 groups will make their way, along with the fourth best team, the fourth best team with the best record will be a wild card. Those 4 teams in each conference make the quarterfinals, December 5, 4 to 5 as well. Then we have the semifinals, December 7, and on December 9 will be the championship game. So I'll give my comments about, the NBA Cup in general, and I want to hear what you think about it. Do you care if the Knicks compete hard? Do you want the Knicks to win it? Do you just want to wait and see? But I like what the NBA has done in terms of getting this thing early in the season before the trade period. Yeah, you could evaluate more things to play for early, something at stake. For the teams to want to either experiment more or go hard for as well. So that all ends before Christmas, basically before mid-December. So that's good. The championship games are in Vegas as well. So that's going to be buzzing, I feel. Now, in terms of the actual groups, now we bring that up. The Knicks actually drew the toughest group, not going to lie, out east. So the top team from each 3 group will advance, like I said, along with a 4th team from each, the 4th team that has the best record out of all 3 groups will also get through as a wild card. So I think that's good. That's good planning. I think there needs to be more incentive, though, in terms of like draft picks, etc. So far, all I know is that each player on the winning team will get 500K each, 500K for their bank account as well. So first and foremost, how do you want people to compete? Well, you got to reward the players. Let's keep that real. Now, that could mean a lot of teams play their bench lineup. A lot of these bench players, who wouldn't want an extra 500K as well? So that's good. Hopefully the money goes up, as the salary cap goes up. But in terms of the team, what's the real incentive for the team to try to win this thing? I just don't know whether there's enough incentive for a team yet. Yeah, you get the title, I'm the NBA Cup champs. Maybe as a team you win a little bit more revenue as well, but maybe a draft pick, maybe playoff seeding would be a nice thing to vie for as well. But Yeah, my thoughts are I like the fact that it's out of the way early, and the distraction's low. Um, yeah. What are your thoughts on that situation? Yeah. In terms of summer league, Tom, I agree. The Knicks haven't invested in this team, and it looks like they're the worst team in this year's summer league. Yep. Kills can barely dribble. They're asking him to play point. Yeah. Questionable decision, definitely. Obviously, Daquan Jeffries missed tonight. We probably win a game if Daquan Jeffries plays 39 minutes, but he was injured as well. No need to risk him. Yeah, the wildcard garbage is basically the fourth team is needed to make up a semi-finals, and you've only got three pools, so you have to advance a fourth team somehow. Um, so I think the only way they could do it was to give that wild card to the fourth team. Um, I'm pretty sure I know it's going to come from East B. It's if you look at the Heat, I mean, let's face it, they're probably going to get Dame. Milwaukee is Milwaukee. Giannis looks like he might not play FIBA though. So does Giannis start the season slow? Let's see what happens with Giannis. Um, but of course, the New York Knicks. I think the Hornets and the Wizards will be up against it. Um, East C, I could see Boston being runaways because, Brooklyn, I don't know if they're in the race for Dame, but even if they were, Boston's still the strongest team in the East at the moment. Toronto's really in flux. They're my team to watch for the rest of this off season. Something's got to give with the Toronto Raptors. Masai Ujiri as well. They gave Jakob Poeltl $80 million. They're about to sign Gary Trent, I think, and retain him. And of course, they lost Fred VanVleet for nothing. Tried to replace him with Schroeder. So, yeah, they're a worse team. I don't see a world where Toronto can come back and even be better than next year. That's interesting. Orlando might be the team that gives the best team some fits as well. Look out for Orlando this season. Uh, and of course, Chicago without Lonzo, without point guard, without that point guard. Um, yeah, that's a lesson about overvaluing players. Yeah, too much for Jakob Poeltl, I agree. For the situation they're in, it was before they lost Fred, so maybe they were hoping he would stay. But that's arrogance to me. How do you not trade Fred? How do you let one of your biggest players get to unrestricted free agency and not have any idea of any other team that might offer him the bag as well? That's just risky, especially when you're barely a play-in team. So the writing was on the wall. They should have pivoted last trade deadline. They could have got a boatload of assets, trading OG, then trading Fred, and just starting the build around Scotty, Pascal, and some other dudes. And then you don't have to pay Jakob Poeltl 20 mil. Well, so that's going to be fascinating. I see them as a play-in team at best. The East is going to be a dogfight. Indiana are better. Cleveland got better. Atlanta might bounce back. Charlotte might surprise people if they get Miles Bridges and a healthy LaMelo. And of course, I mentioned Orlando as well. Detroit might make a leap, although I doubt it. But yeah, the East from one to 10 is gonna be lit. Yep, 100% agree with this. Yep. He can kick rocks, can Masai Ujiri. He's fleeced us enough as well with his arrogance. Uh, he's done well in the past, no doubt. He's been one of the best executives, but right now he's lost it. Danny Ainge is a dude that has arrogance, but he always delivers. He always gets what he wants as well. He postures and then he knows when to go all in. He knows when to make the move, like he did with Spider. Um, Toronto, again, they weren't even good last year, and they're trying to overvalue their players. Like, the whole league wants them. The whole league about to give up 3 unprotecteds for OG. He couldn't even help you make the play-in, but you're about to ask for 3 picks for OG, 4 picks for Pascal. It's ridiculous. But now, yeah, now he's up against it. Yeah, we will look at the Knicks draft picks as well, which is going to be a situation that's worth looking at coming up with all the protections. We'll look at that in the next show coming up, because there's a possibility the Knicks have 2 first-round picks in this upcoming draft, and a possibility we have 2 to 3 second-round picks also. So yeah, overall, I'm leaning more towards, like, I'm excited about this tournament. I'm not caring if the Knicks don't do well. I don't care if we don't really go all in. But just from the NBA perspective, I think it's time. It's the right time to try something different. Try something. If it doesn't work, they could just let it go. But to me, the All-Star break has not been it. All-Star weekend is kind of like no one gives it a F about that at this point. From the dunk contest to the 3-point contest, the skills challenge, the format, all of that has sucked as well. So I think, yeah, it's a case of them trying something new, and I'm okay with it. But I just wish that the teams would get an extra prize or incentive in terms of a draft pick, the rights to swap a draft pick or something, or playoff seeding, just some further incentive. Then I think you'll see the stakes go up crazy. Yep, the stakes will get real hot with that situation. I think if they add extra prizes, but I think the 500K is fair enough. I think that's, yeah, it's fairly solid with that. Scotty Barnes also, they better be careful that he doesn't continue to develop slower, than what we've seen. TV says we're in a good place since Leon took over. Why would we panic if we don't get nothing back for Fournier? Yeah, I think Fournier is just going to be used at the end of the day for a salary filler to make up a deal for a star. That's going to include other salary like RJ or Quickly, and then our first round draft picks, of course. The thing is, right, these picks are coming up quick. They're coming to a head. So I've been on the record again. I said the Knicks need to continue to be aggressive. I know, make the right move, but don't be afraid to go in a little bit, because Jalen Brunson's only 27. There's hypothetically there's 2 chapters of Jalen Brunson's Knicks career in my eyes, and that's pre-30, post-30. If we just wait a couple years and we wait for these picks, we wait for the right guy, before you know it, Jalen Brunson will be 29, and we'll have given him no opportunity to compete or to contend. If we attach a lot of these picks, we go all in for a guy, even if he doesn't fit right or he's not the right guy, in 3 or 4 years, that salary of that guy will be coming to an end. Jalen Brunson will only be 30, 31. And then you can start the second chapter with Jalen Brunson post 30. So that's how I see it. And again, you're wasting time if you hold on to these picks. You wait for Devin Booker. You wait 2 years for Joel Embiid. You're basically saying, okay, before Jalen Brunson earns the big bag, and before he's 30, you're okay with just not contending. And then again, when a guy hits 30, you just never know. Like, anything can happen then as well. So I want the Knicks to be aggressive in the next 12 months. I want us to attach these picks, spend it. What's the point in saving it if you never spend it? So, and again, I don't think it would cripple us, because Jalen Brunson is only 27. And when he's 31, whichever guy we bring in, whichever contract, it'll be expired by then. We'll have all our draft picks back, and we'll be able to go for that next all-in move as well. So if you chop up the timeline of Jalen Brunson, there's 2 chapters: pre-30, post-30, and of course pre-supermax, post-max contract as well, which gives you far less flexibility to make those moves. So at this minute, I see the West being tough with West A. You got the Lakers, you got Phoenix, you got Memphis. Hell, Utah could give those teams trouble as well. So that's going to be some good pool play. West B, I could see Denver coming out of that easy if Jokic is playing. The other good thing I want to note is the way they've integrated this in the regular season is by far the number one best thing. And I'll tell you why about this tournament. Because you don't have to worry about teams not giving a rat's about the tournament and sitting guys for no reason, because that game is also meaningful in the regular season. So they can't say, oh, we don't care about the tournament, we're going to sit Jokic tonight, because that game still matters for the regular season as well. So if anything, it might allow them to, teams to do load management for those other games, but make sure that their guys play for these games. So that's the best thing about this tournament, I think, and hopefully people buy in, but I don't see why they won't, because they count for regular season dubs as well. Dallas definitely got better. Portland's going to match Matisse Thybulle's deal, but they got Lively, they got Grant Williams as well. They got some wing help. So let's see what Dallas do. Let's see what happens with Paul George. I don't think that's going to go away as well. I think the price will come down for PG, because I think, I don't think that the Clippers are going to do a lot. I don't think they're going to make noise with Kawhi, with PG. A big year for the Pelicans, for the direction of their franchise also. Zion Williamson, can he put all the stories and all the things going on behind the scenes behind him and get on the court and dominate? And can Zion Williamson carry his team to the playoffs? Is going to be big 12 months. If Zion Williamson doesn't have a good year, I could see David Griffin seeing what he could get, just put him on the block. Of course, they got CJ, they got Brandon Ingram also. So yeah, I could see that being the case with Group West B. West C, we got the Kings. The Kings will be solid versus the Golden State Warriors. Karl Anthony Towns. A lot of people like Howard Beck around the league feel like he's the next. He has to be traded eventually from Minnesota. Eventually, that pairing with Rudy Gobert is going to come to a head if it doesn't result into winning. So OKC, of course, continue to do what OKC do. It's going to be interesting to see if they can make the play in again, or go even better with their young talent. We got FIBA to chop up also. Dirty's looking at how RJ looks, hopefully good at the FIBA tournament, and then it might end all the trade talk. Yeah, one or the other. The thing is, Canada's so stacked that he might not even start. When you got Wiggins, you got Lou Dort, you got SGA, you got Jamal Murray. I don't know if all of those dudes are going to commit. But yeah, it should be cool. I like Team USA's team. Of course, we got Hart, we got Brunson, we got Mikal Bridges, the Nova gang linking up. They might even do some recruiting as well. I know Mikal Bridges is not going to be out of Brooklyn anytime soon, but we don't know. In 3, 4, 5 years, he might end up on the Knicks. There are people say that uh, FIBA international competition is when the most recruiting is done within Team USA. Yeah, no, I agree. No sympathy for the Pelicans as well. Yep, you reap what you sow at this point. Let's see what they can do. But yeah, it's a big year for everyone. Um, I'll say why I think the Knicks will be solid early is because of the continuity factor. You know, the New York Knicks are going to bring back the same core most likely. Um, if I had to put odds on a bigger trade happening, it'd probably be 35%, 65%. We come back with the same roster. 35% we make a big trade this summer. It's still very possible. They're looking into it, but time's going to run out. And again, I want people to understand it's not easy for the New York Knicks to make big deals around the league. Like we heard from the horse's mouth that the New York Knicks backed away from the asking price of Paul George. You know, Alan Hahn confirmed it, and then we had Mike Scotto from Hoops Hype actually give us a, a highlight highlight of what the package would look like, which would have been Quickly, Grimes, Obi, and some picks, and then Obi swapped with RJ at one point, I think. So yeah, the Knicks backed away, which is a good in negotiating tactic, to get the other guy to come down. Because I do think some of these GMs will be whack in terms of trying to fleece the Knicks. Because if there's one way you could, negotiate with the New York Knicks is everyone around the world knows that the New York Knicks are set to make that next all-in move, right? Nobody can deny it. Nobody can disagree. The New York Knicks are at that stage now where they're trying to make that next big upgrade, and other teams know it. Also, other teams know that the Knicks are sitting on a boatload of draft picks as well. So their aim is to be how many of these picks can we get from the New York Knicks? How can we make sure we bleed them dry? If we're going to send them OG within the conference, if we're going to send them a player that's going to improve them, then we want to make sure we get pick swaps. We want to make sure we can get minimal protections, all of those things, because we feel like the New York Knicks are going to be good as well. Also, I think the Knicks, the Knicks' most valuable draft picks will probably be their own in the future, because the teams will know that the New York Knicks are going to be good coming up as well. So, um, yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on that in terms of that situation? Yeah, at least RJ is going to have a big off season. He's going to be playing excellent competition. He's going to be getting his mind off the New York and the mind off the New York Knicks, and he can just focus on internal improvement. I think that's going to be great for Barrett coming in. So yeah, I like the tournament. I think it'll be exciting if the Knicks can advance. I think whoever wins the first one, it's not going to feel as sweet. But once there's a winner every year, and you're competing to steal that trophy off that team, I think is when it's going to really take off. It doesn't feel good when you win the first one. It's kind of a manufactured tournament. But after it becomes a few years old, and there's a few winners, and you can put your name against those other winners, is when I think the prestige is going to be better. I do have concerns over OG's kind of ability to improve the team drastically to get us to the top, which is why it's fair to reconsider how much you're going to give up, because yeah, OG's great defensively, he will fit in amazingly, but offensively, does he want to handle the ball a lot more as well? I like RJ Barrett's ability to create his shot, over OG's a little bit, but OG's defense and OG's shooting is a heaps better as well. So, yeah, agree with that. Um, he was making the right plays. I think um, again, his ball handling, his decision making when he drives is going to be big. Um, you see that the mind has got to understand what the body is capable of. I used an example before. When he drives, he has the ball right out there, ready to strip. One thing we've seen in Summer League tonight and last night is that these young kids, these young athletic kids, think that they can just sky high and rise over three guys to finish. See, look at the trees. Look at them shut out the paint when the guy's trying to drive as well. Martin tries to drive, they shut him off. See, a lot of these kids, a lot of these players just put their head down and they just say, I'm to hell with it. I'm going to try to finish over these guys. But that's not the right thing. I mentioned the mid range, I mentioned the kick out. All of those things is key, to counter that. So yeah, decision making is going to be big for Bully Barrett. Mid range, if he can get better at that, that's going to be good. Um, and of course, the catch and shoot is going to be big. You appreciate you all rocking along. The streets are buzzing. Summer League, big off season for the Knicks. Smashing that like button. I appreciate you all for your comments, thoughts, questions, anything out there. We'll continue the coverage of Summer League after every game. Continue following along free agency and a FIBA as well. I haven't peeped the times of the games for FIBA, but the games are in the Asia Pacific region, so I think it's going to be more, in line with my timeline. I think 2 or 3 hours. Um, but in terms of the Summer League, what we've seen so far, it's the two-way spots that are up for grabs. Daquan Jeffries looks like he's got a roster spot so far, but Jalen Martin, Charlie Brown, and Isaiah Roby was better tonight, which is a bit of a relief. I mean, we got guaranteed money for Isaiah Roby, so he could stroke it, he could shoot. He hit a couple of deep balls, etc. We got Dante DiVincenzo um, coming in. He's going to have an amazing impact. He's just a winning player with everything he does. This one's of Roby stroking it. He's got a 7'2" wingspan, which is something that's very noteworthy with Isaiah Roby. Look, you're not blocking this shot. Look how high he releases that shot. 6'8" with a 7'2" wingspan. So that's the intrigue with Roby in terms of a guy who could be a floor spacer potentially. That's what I'm looking for in the rest of these games, in that spot. If he can sink that shot at 38%, catch and shoot, that's good. When Roby was putting the ball on the deck, trying to drive into traffic, that was not good. That was not good at all. So again, yeah, they were swarming the paint. So he doesn't really have a post-up game or any kind of moves down low, but he can really push the ball on the deck and attack the closeout. It's his decision making, I think, which is going to be key. Wayne likes Roby in that 8 to 10 minute spot off the bench. Yeah, as I mentioned, he has a roster spot at this point, and I think there's a very big chance he'll keep that roster spot moving forward. I really do. I think they're bringing up the roster on screen. Wayne, chat. Now Toppin doesn't have a two-way spot, but I could see them looking after him. If he shows that he could do something in training camp. But Martin's definitely worth it. Trevor Keels definitely really need to seriously consider dropping him, eating that draft pick, just saying I made a mistake rather than persist with that. Because so far he hasn't shown anything resembling a guy that could stick as well. If he wants to sign in Westchester, he could be a proper G League player as well. You keep him in Westchester, but not on a two-way. Washington, I could see, but he's still undersized. Daquan Jeffries, 6'5", definitely worth the roster spot. But Charlie Brown is that other guy's. Yeah. It's just not a good fit. Cut him, says Dirty. In terms of 6'4", right? What does he offer? Anything different? And how is he going to get any minutes over Quickly, DiVincenzo, Hart, all of those players, Barrett, Grimes, heck, even Deuce McBride is going to play over him as well. Now he's 19, so I'm not sitting here saying, right, he's never going to make it, that kind of thing. You never say never. But as of right now, is he worth a spot on this team? I'm going to say no. Definitely no. The worst player, plus minus again. Wasn't even holding up defensively. Not in good shape. Not a floor spacer as well. Doesn't have that skill set as well. But we'll see. Yeah. Mega salute. Yeah, and I think you guys would agree. Do you think Charlie Brown deserves a spot, two-way spot over Keels, based on what we've seen? Won the G League championship, has looked nice, coming in. But yeah, that's the rotation how I see it. I could still see Tibbs going 9 men and not even playing Roby, not even playing a backup 4. For many reasons. We know rebounding is a big thing, right? It's not like Roby's going to give you any rim protection, so you may as well go super small. Right, so rebounding, Josh Hart. Who's a better rebounder, Roby or Hart? Definitely Hart. Who's a better rebounder, DiVincenzo or Roby? It's probably close. Emmanuel Quickly's a good rebounder as well. Of course, Hart. Yeah, appreciate you, man, Dirty. The fact that I might deserve a roster spot it says everything we need to know, man. My jump shot might be better than Keels. Handles probably the same. I do have that go to my right tendency, but I do hope Keels could have a couple of nice games in summer league at least. I'm rooting for the kid. I'm rooting for him. But like I said, I just don't think the organization's really done anyone any favors on this team. Right. Keels is the proper 2 guard with a point guard next to him. Might be different. But Jalen Martin definitely been more impressive. Charlie Brown and Isaiah Roby. But Jalen Martin's ability to create, even his handles is tighter. He's 19 years old, played OTE. His on-ball defense is better, Jalen Martin as well. The shot is probably better also. So yeah, for a guy who's undrafted, like I guess I couldn't have expected anything more from Jalen Martin than what we've seen. He's worth a two-way spot. I think Jacob Toppin would probably have been by far the best prospect for a two-way, but we haven't got to see what he could do. But we wait. He's got hops as well. He's poised. He can finish. All of those things. Moving forward, yeah, we'll get ready to chop this thing up another day. But yeah, we wait to see, what's the news around the league. But they've announced this NBA Cup. The Knicks are going to go all in. We know Tom Thibodeau likes to win something, and we see what we could do. But I like the continuity of this team coming in. There's not a lot of changes. Talk about Jalen Brunson maybe going to another level. I wouldn't rule that out. Hell no. He's only 27. FIBA, he's going to get those reps in international competition running Team USA as well with his Villanova buds. I think RJ Barrett's going to have a big off season as well. Hopefully, surgery went well for Julius Randle, and the rehab is going well. We strengthened the bench. You can't disagree with that. Dante DiVincenzo, for however unwhelming it might be for some fans, he adds shooting, and we really need shooting. And he's not just a shot taker, he's a maker. He's a deep floor spacer as well, and he shoots quickly. He doesn't hesitate. That's something we lacked in the playoffs. We need a guy who just will fire away, do not hesitate. And he's got a smooth mechanic, a smooth jump shot. And I think the chemistry next to Josh Hart, those two are going to be dynamic off the bench. If Quickly's with them as well. We don't really need a 4 at this point. But if Roby can look better in Summer League and look solid, then let's keep him. Isaiah Hartenstein as well. While we have Barrett, we want to continue to make sure he plays 36, 39 minutes. Right, he's still young, and he could probably get some backup for as well. AP says, I think J Mart's going to Westchester, let the kid play. Yeah, I think they want to keep him. Wayne says J Mart's a project, but give him a couple years and I think he'll be ready to try NBA ball full time. It might be less than that. Again, I like what he's shown in 2 games in a step up in competition, from going for OTE to kind of pro level, which is Summer League. You're going up against Kennedy Chandler, these kind of guys, Armani Brooks. Dirty hits us with the question of the night. What is Keels good at? That's, as I mentioned earlier in the show, he was supposedly the best at slashing, driving to the cup, getting separation. But he looks heavy. He looks he's carrying some excess fat. I know that's he's a stocky build as well. But if you're 6'4", you shouldn't really look that wide if you're a guard. Eddie McBride is not in Summer League because he's proven to be an NBA rotation player already, I think, in the eyes of Tibbs as well. And he's coming into his 3rd year, and he's played Summer League twice already, I think, as well. But it makes sense that his point guard play and development minutes would have been good for the Summer League. But I think if he had a choice, he would probably prefer to finally have a summer. I think the season went pretty deep. Also for the New York Knicks, the Knicks were playing right up until the lottery night, basically in late May, for the first time in a decade. So it's a short off season for us. It's a short off season. I like that idea, like Wayne's saying. It looks like they'll have Roby in the corner, 3 spot up, shooter roll, if he plays with the big squad. Yep. Again, he could get that shot off real quick as well. We wait to see what happens. We'll cover in the next game as the streets continue to buzz. Appreciate everyone out here rocking along tonight, breaking down the Knicks Summer League team, 2nd loss to the Brooklyn Nets, but the off-season noise continues with this squad. The 2-way spots up for grabs. Doesn't look like any of these guys in Summer League are going to factor heavily in the season at all. We got our rotation, which is the main thing. But can Leon Rose make that upgrade? Is there a trade for Fournier coming? Let's see. It all depends on the price. What are these other GMs wanting from us? Because Leon Rose is patient. He's wanting to make sure the move sets us up, for the right thing for the future as well. So peace to everyone in the chat. Catch you in the next one. Let's get it.